This is the obviously voiceover room or the special recording room. State of the art for GBH FM 2006. Mic mute, cough button. This is where the equipment gets fixed. And this is the control room for the large studio. Still using tape machines, I see, at least for playback, I guess. This is the state-of-the-art audio panel. Stereo Master, it's called. Stereo Production Console.
In the early days of WGBH radio, Parker Wheatley, who was the manager of radio and television, decided that the radio audience should also have intermission. And so for about 20 minutes, WGBH would broadcast crowd noise.
Bill Busick was, he was the one that devised the single microphone hanging over the Boston Symphony Orchestra for the best sound, and became a kind of tradition that the one microphone was the best way to record, until we hit stereo, of course. And this is the hallway, main hallway at 125 Western Ave. All right, give us your favorite story about 125 Western Ave. What happened? Come on, get it, be honest.
The day Rich Harrison's dog took a crap on the tape floor.
That was great.
That was the best.
That was the best. That was the best. Now we're going into master control. We're now moving to TV master control and tape room. State-of-the-art GBH 2006. Your name, please?
Steve Douglas.
Steve, how long you been at GBH?
I'm working on my 26th year.
Happens every time I ask anybody. It's over 15. Can you tell us what are you controlling? How many stations? What's going on?
We're controlling 7 stations through analog and digital transmitters. This is channel 2 analog and channel 44. And up on the 6 segment monitor, we've got the digital channels. The top left and the bottom left are channel 19. And the 4 on the right are channel 43, which is our digital channel 44 transmitter. And that's divided up into a simulcast of WGBX, the State House at the moment, the World channel down below it, the Create channel on the top right, and the Kids channel on the bottom right. To be fully high definition, it would have to be the only station on the channel. And right now we're sending out channel 2 and that signal as well. So it's not quite high definition, but it's the highest definition in the market.
What's the biggest crisis you've had here?
I don't know if I could say really.
One of those, huh? Okay. Tell me about Nam June Paik blowing out the transmitter.
Oh, yeah, I got a funny story about Nam June Paik, who was one of the original video artists. And actually he did very well for himself. One day I was assigned to work with him on a project. He was given some Rockefeller grant or something. And he was making this video art. He was doing these patterns on monitors that he had modified the yokes to. And so one day I'm working with him and I'm looking at these patterns revolving, like they're very, very interesting patterns. He said, "Mr. Fairweather, you see that?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Lissajous patterns, which have been used in laboratories for ages and ages to analyze phase relationships of waveforms." And yes, it says, "Lissajous figures." And he says, "Yep." He said, "Keep belly full, many years in Manhattan." So that was Nam June. Nam June, because he was coming forth with these really out of spec video and chroma levels mainly, that there was so much power in the 358, the subcarrier, that it actually burned up the vestigial sideband filter of channel 44, I believe.
Small problem.
Small problem, expensive problem.
Tell me about editing down here. What shows did you edit down here, David?
Oh, lots of shows, but yeah, over in the edit suite.
Show me where.
Over there. The one thing that comes to mind about this room, and the engineers will not like this, is what's called match frame errors.
Match frame errors.
And I think we used to wait hours, if not days, trying to get match frames right. Match frame is when you back up and make an edit right into the same material, right on the match frame, picking up where you left off so there's no interruption whatsoever. But I can remember spending quite a bit of time waiting to pick up on a match frame error, and if it didn't happen right, then the picture would shift.
When we got to editing, here was what happened. We would edit on 3/4 inch, and then somebody would come in and mark down the SMPTE code numbers. Then somebody would have to type in the SMPTE code numbers, and that's how you made your edit. Then somebody said, we can devise something where the SMPTE time codes will be put onto a disk, and then you can put the disk in here. So what the question was, how many edits could you accomplish in an 8-hour day? In the first round, we were lucky if we could get 35 to 50 edits done in a day. The next step, we were up to 175. By the time it ended, they were hitting almost 400 edits per 8 hours. And this room, which cost probably $1 million, including all this equipment and the tape machines on the outside, 1 inch, probably cost nearly $1 million. It hasn't been used in 5 years. So the state-of-the-art 1990s is of no other value at this moment. It just sits here empty.
Fred's story about how many edits could be done in a day, and Fred was famous for keeping track of things and how much you could get done in an 8-hour period, either in editing or in the field. And actually, Bill Fairweather, that we were just talking to, is famous for a quote talking about Fred's production mode, and the quote was, "Fred Barzyk has done for television what McDonald's did for the hamburger."
This became an editing room too, but it looks like it's been stripped. There's nothing here anymore. No monitors, no nothing. Oh well.
It says Parlant Française number 3, series 3. This has got to be with Anne Slack.
Bonjour tout le monde. Encore une fois, nous sommes sur le Mont Blanc, dans les Alpes.
What year again?
61.
61.
Something like that.
Just before the fire.
This is who
Nancy
brought the
Margot.
tape by.
Nancy Margot. Now she's a grandmother.
He presses a buzzer. He is then given a chance to win for his favorite charity the total amount of 500 new francs. However,
Margie Paxu was Dave Davis's secretary. She then left WGBH and went to Canada, her place of origin, and auditioned for the CBC, and became the voice of classical music throughout all of Canada for over 20 years. She may be coming to the reunion that we're holding in the year 2006. Michael and I are going past the clean room, which is where all of the gear for the master control operation resides. We had an engineer by the name of Jack Kane, and dear Jack had a habit of smoking cigars. And for years, as they were redoing these clean rooms and making them more up to date, they would find little chewed off pieces of cigars everywhere, and they knew that Jack Kane had been there. For a while, WGBH had a going business where people would be asked to be on a national show, and that instead of traveling out of Boston, what they would do is they would come to the studio, an engineer would pipe it into the telephone system, and that's how they would appear both on both commercial and public television. This is the insert studio, just one camera, sometimes two, but most of the time it was just a one-time camera. And this is where Namjoon Paik's synthesizer resided, right in this general area, which was called Studio C in those days.
Which was twice as big.
twice as big as this. It went all the way over here. And Namjoon Paik, the video artist, had invented this machine called the synthesizer, which he would take $100 black and white cameras, feed it into a black box, and come out with color images. His favorite device for creating those images was a 78 turntable with whipped cream and aluminum foil going around and around, and he would use that as his device. We're now moving into the place that keeps all of the gear and equipment running. The shop. Your name, please.
Hi, Joe Puglisi.
Joe, how long you been here?
I think I'm in my 31st year of hard labor.
31st year. What goes on in here?
We maintain all the electrical, technical equipment for the foundation.
WGBH lost 2 tape recorders in the fire, and the insurance paid for 2 new ones. And there was a firm that would repair them for a price. The price was $15,000 each. And the engineering department determined that that was too much, and we'd probably have to give them up. So the fellow said, "Oh, you're the educational station that burned down in Boston. Look, let me tell you what we do. Take all the tape recorders apart, wash everything you can with 1 part Vel, which is a water-soluble soap that you use if you're yachting, and 1 part water. Paint everything with it. Hose it all down. Dry it for several days with fans. Plug everything in. If it shorts out, throw it away and replace it." And for this, they wanted $15,000.
During the massive blackout that wiped out all the lights in the northeastern part of the United States, shows all stopped, everything went black. Somehow they got information that more than just Boston was dark, that New York was dark. And Dave Davis came here, we all stood around here, and he says, "I don't want anybody to panic, but I want you all to go home now, right now." And we all left.
And on the evening that Robert Kennedy died, several of us came in. Don Fauser, Louis Lyons showed up immediately in his Volkswagen demanding to go on the air. We cut the credits for the program that was on the air, and Louis sat in his chair sobbing and saying that America stinks, and did a 7 or 8 minute monologue about how this death was going to impact the United States. We then went ahead and made 2 half-hour programs for children, because everything else was for adults and it was all about mourning. And we called Fred Rogers and asked if he could do one. And he said, "I'm in the studio now doing The Death of the Fish." And so we had 90 minutes on the air for children about death and dying at a time when everything else was caissons rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Stanford Calderwood, who was our leader, president for about 6 months. He had come from Polaroid. He would wear red suspenders, and he would run from that front door, and he would run up these stairs. It was rumored that he had put tape recorders and microphones in his office so that he could get info on everybody. Peter Downey was the one who told me about that.